morning, and thank you for tuning into the Andrew Tate Show, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We've got a great show for you guys today. We're going to be covering the NBA playoffs. We'll also be talking about the NFL Christmas game sells to a new streaming service. We'll also be discussing Conor McGregor breaks records with UFC 303 fight. We'll also be covering Dumb Criminals since it's Wednesday, and make sure that you guys stick around for later in the show when we'll be diving into our oddities of the day. Before we start, though, I just wanted to ask that you guys like and follow the show. We get a number of questions from viewers that come in during the show, so to ensure that your question gets read on the air, I ask that you use the tips and donation link with your question. The tips and donation link is gsmcpodcast.net. This just puts your question at the top of the list so I can see it, and it also really helps the show. Good morning, Tate. How are you doing?
Good morning, Miss Faith. All right, so today is Miss Faith's birthday,
It is.
and we actually sang happy birthday to Faith, but that was not going to be on air. That will not be my.
Sound bad. I didn't think it sounded bad.
That would not be my video debut of my singing voice coming out there. That is never going to happen. So
no new album's going to drop.
Girl, you do not want to buy that album. It'd be funny, but it wouldn't be good. All right, so talk to me. What's your plans for your birthday? I don't know if you want to share the number, or that's up to you as far as.
I'm turning today. I am 23. Woohoo.
Okay, 23. That's an awesome. First off, that is like the 23 and 24 are probably the best years. And then I'm going to go 34, 35. Those are sweet numbers in my book.
Okay.
Faith is like, okay.
But today, let's see, going to the gym like I always do. Probably gonna go do like a birthday lunch, and then later tonight there is some live music going on at a local music venue where I live, so me and my boyfriend are gonna do that, and that about sums up my day.
Okay, and then we gotta give boyfriend some respect here.
Mm-hmm.
Faith is starting. I mean, Faith starts her day very early, so
yes.
We start the show at 7 a.m. So she informed me that boyfriend at 4 o'clock in the morning is wishing her a happy birthday.
Yeah, because
I gotta give him some props on that one.
It's because I shot up this morning at 4 a.m. thinking that I had overslept and I still had an hour left to sleep. So, but I was like, woke up in a panic, and he was like, happy birthday. And then we both went back to sleep, and then I got up an hour later.
Okay, see, that wouldn't happen with me. If I wake up, I'm up for the day. I'm not going like an hour. It's going to take me 9 hours just to go back to sleep. So I'm not going back to sleep.
I like my sleep, so.
That is like we've talked about this before. That is a skill that I am so impressed with you. I just don't have it. I don't have that gear. I'm getting a little bit more sleep nowadays.
That's good.
But just going back to sleep that's impressive.
Yeah.
So, all right, we have an interesting show today. So looking forward to diving into this a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty, so starting out, we're going to be covering the NBA playoffs. We'll first be talking about the Nuggets versus the Timberwolves. So Nikola Jokic scored 40 points, added 13 assists, and led the Denver Nuggets to a 112-97 win over the Minnesota Timberwolves in Game 5 of their second-round NBA playoff series on Tuesday night, or last night. The Nuggets have won 3 games in a row to take a 3-2 series lead, and the reigning champs are 1 win away from a return trip to the Western Conference Finals. Jokic received his 3rd MVP trophy in a pre-game ceremony, and he went out and played like it. It was the first time Jokic scored 40 points in these playoffs, and marked his first career playoff game with more than 35 points, 10 assists, and 5 rebounds. Jokic had 16 of his points points in the third quarter as the Nuggets built a double-digit lead, and he had no trouble consistently scoring over Defensive Player of the Year Rudy Gobert. The Timberwolves were without starting guard Mike Conley in the Game 5 loss. Anthony Edwards, meanwhile, had his worst game of the series, finishing with 18 points on a 5 of 15 shooting. The Wolves will try to keep their season alive at home in Thursday's Game 6. And that's all I got.
Okay, fair. Do you understand? First up, when they were playing the Lakers, I called them Freddy Cougar and Jason and all the scary movies because they just haunt the Lakers.
Yep.
And then Minnesota came out and just punched them in the mouth right out the gate, taking the first two games in Denver. This don't even seem like the same series anymore. It was like Minnesota,
a little bit of a breather.
It really is one of those monster movies where it's just like you just beat him down. You think he's dead. You're like, and you kick him in the gut one more time, like you walk away and he just rises up like the Undertaker. That's Jokic right there. Man, they don't even look like the team that lost the first two games at home. They went on the road and it was like mere bag of shells. No problem. We got you handled in Minnesota. Minnesota's like, that's our new home. And then last night, Faith, I'm looking at this. I'm watching Jokic get his third MVP trophy. Rudy Gobert is defensive MVP, and they're like, we're going to put our defensive player of the year on the NBA's MVP, and let's see what happened. And Jokic showed why he's the MVP. He schooled Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
Dropping 40 on him, went 15 of 22 shooting, 13 assists, 7 rebounds, no turnovers, got 16 points and 4 assists in the third quarter. He owned the defensive player of the year. I mean, Jokic, there's no answer for this guy. That's the thing that makes it so amazing is he doesn't look so coordinated and he doesn't look so athletic. And there is absolutely no one that can handle him. When you say defensive player of the year, that's the best defensive player in the NBA, the best defensive player in the world. Jokic dropped 40 on him. An easy 40. Made Rudy Gobert did not look like defensive player of the year. When you drop down help because Rudy Gobert needed help, then the passing of Jokic is just, there's no answer for it. 13 assists, the rebound, you put him one-on-one, he will just school you. And that was, after taking both of the games in Minnesota and then coming back home to Denver to take, just to take Rudy Gobert's lunch was just, it was just impressive. Minnesota had a rough day on the road. Karl Anthony Towns, he struggled. Anthony Edwards went 1 from 8 from the field in the first quarter. They had 11 turnovers. Didn't have Mike Conley. It was just like they were just overmatched. And now Denver, running off 3 games in a row, goes back to Minnesota and to possibly close them out after Minnesota taking the first 2 games on the road. Minnesota could get swept and lose 4 games in a row and just dismissed That's if they win in Minnesota coming up, they would have just handled them after spotting them 2 games. It's just something that, I wasn't expecting.
Hmm.
Minnesota tried to make a brief run uh, in the third quarter, but that was about it. This game was just handled. This game was in hand.
Hmm.
And it was the perfect celebration for Jokic getting the MVP. You could they had a chance to celebrate him getting the MVP at home, and then they put on a clinic. It was a perfect night for the Denver Nuggets. That's pretty much what it was.
All right.
You can see why you're like I look at this and I watch this game, and as a Laker fan, I'm like, the Lakers have no answer for this team
Yeah.
even next year.
Hmm.
So it's a that was a rough one to watch. All
Hmm.
right.
All right, well, moving on from that, we're now going to be talking about the Knicks versus the Pacers. So Tyrese Halliburton came up small on the big stage. The Pacers star turned invisible when they needed him most in a 121-91 second round Game 5 loss to the Knicks. The All-Star failed as both an offensive engine and a team leader. After excelling the prior 3 games, Halliburton had just 13 points and 5 assists, his minus 22 by far the worst of Indiana's starter. I've just got to do a better job of being aggressive, Halliburton said. I think we go back to game 1. I said the same thing after game 1. It's more on me than it is on what anybody else is doing, so I'll fix that next game. I just didn't do what I'm supposed to today, and I'll be better in game 6. Coming into that game 1 loss with a bad back, Halliburton was ineffective with just 6 points on 6 shots. But in the 3 games that followed, the point guard had bounced back to average a 29.7 points on a .550 shooting and hit 17 of 37 from deep. That's the Halliburton they needed Tuesday, but they didn't get him. The Halliburton they got was tentative, dribbling around the perimeter, not getting downhill, and not defending. For Halliburton to have any success Friday, the Pacers are going to need to run, and that means they'll need to defend. Halliburton's needs to run to excel, but with Indiana taking the ball out of the basket all night, they were faster out of the post-game locker room than they were in the transition all evening.
Okay. This is just weird. Indiana it just comes flat out to. Indiana is a different team at home than they are on the road. When they're on the road, they're a shell of themselves. And even though the Knicks have been beat up, uh, when you just make that adjustment from Indiana being at home to Indiana being away, also the Knicks are a much tougher team at home. Jalen Brunson, his fifth 40-point game, 44 points, went 18 for 35 shooting, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, uh, averaging 33 points a game on the season for 2024. Makes him he's just been a stud. But there is no answer for Brunson at all. And then Isaiah Hartenstein put on a clinic last night rebounding. There was bringing him in the game just changed the game. 17 rebounds, 12 offensive rebounds. Uh he's the ninth player to do it since 1977, but 12 offensive rebounds, that changes the game completely. Because those are second chance points that you as a team like Indiana, you can't allow one guy to have more offensive rebounds than your entire team, then having Josh Hart come off the bench and just drop 18 and 11. It was just a lopsided, game for me. It's just amazing how different these two teams are when they're at home. They're not the same teams at all. Um, Tom Thibodeau. Let's talk Tom Thibodeau. He has been getting beat up, and I'm one of them that beats him up, that he has played his players too much. And that's why many believe, including myself, that's why they've had so many injuries. But Thibodeau made some great adjustments, putting McBride in the lineup, uh, made a major impact. The Knicks being way more physical uh, on the boards last night. It was just a masterful uh, performance by the Knicks, and Indiana had no answer. I can't even say, hey, this is something that's going to keep going, because these two teams are just different teams when they're at home, when they're away. Indiana's going home the next game, and I'm expecting Indiana to be the same dominant team they were when they play at home. This is, to me, this is feels like a 7-game series, uh, but and an entertaining series to watch as well. But these two teams are just incredibly different when they're on the road.
Mm.
So,
Alrighty, guys. Well, with that, we are going to take our first break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about the NFL Christmas game sales to a new streaming service. And you will need another subscription to watch. So make sure you guys stick around, and we will be back in a minute.